Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Career Tip Tuesday. I am your host, Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network. Going to allow for some people to come in and start to say hello and let us know where you are tuning in from. And today's topic, I'm going to get right into it. All right. 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. You want to going to be on here for this one. Okay. Makita may or may not be able to join us. I noticed she's had a couple of things, appointments from work she needs to attend to. So it may just be me today being solo, but that is okay. So we're going to jump right in with the 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. All right. So the first one that I want to talk about is being liked is just as important as being qualified. And I know some of you are probably going to debate me on this one, but the reason why I want to talk about this one specifically is because likability is important. Now, I'm not saying that you should go to the workplace and try to, kiss button all the things, but you do have to make sure that you think about your likability, and your likability is how well do you get along with others? How do they perceive you? Are you easy to work with? Are you approachable? And we're not saying you need to change your personality because we know we have negative characters or toxic people who are in the workplace, but being liked is helpful when it comes to thinking about your relationship building aspect of what you do. So that's pretty much really what that means, is that do you have the right type of relationship building skills that can help you to increase your likability. Now, there is a such thing as called likability bias. And what likability bias is, it's the same thing. Same thing as if someone who is biased in reference to they have two people that perform the job well. One is liked better than the other. So the one person who's well liked can make mistakes. The other who's not well liked cannot make any mistakes. They may not be well liked, not because they've done anything wrong, but they simply just do not like them. That's likability bias, which can be harmful in the workplace. But you definitely need to think about and consider the fact that being liked is just as important as being qualified. And probably, I wouldn't say maybe qualified is probably not the right word to use. I would probably say being liked is more so just as important as doing a good job, or being someone who is a high performer, because you could be a high performer and not well liked. And so I do think that it's important to think about, and maybe we should change that to, is as important as being a high performer, because, you know, again, qualified, you already got the job. So you were qualified for the job, right? So performer probably is more of the word that we should be looking for that. So yeah, let's just say being liked is just as important as being a high performer. Hey, Madison. All right, Madison says, suggest for being well liked without being a doormat. I feel like people stop liking me once I assert myself. Yeah, Madison, here's the thing. Don't be unapologetic about how assertive you are. Do not apologize for that, right? A likability is not about ass kissing. I hope I can say that on LinkedIn Live. I don't know if I can, but it's not about that. It's about the fact that you're liked, but you're genuinely liked for who you are, right? We know that, we're talking today about the 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. And likability is one of those things. If you are being assertive and people start to not like you, then the problem is not you, it's them and how they feel about your assertiveness and how they are uncomfortable with your assertiveness, probably because they don't have any. Okay. So don't apologize for that, Madison. You keep being who you are. Sometimes we are in the wrong places with the right types of skill sets and personality and gifts, or we're in the right place with the right personalities, skill sets and gifts, but we may be working around people who may not equal that. And that's okay, because if you are a high performer and you love what you do, then you have to navigate working with those people. So yeah, I mean, I would say just continue to be you, Madison, be unapologetically you. And even if you're not well liked, you don't have to being well liked isn't me being a doormat, because you could be well liked and respected, right? It's about how you treat people. It's about how you engage with them. and just being strategic with that. We're not talking about changing who you are, just being very mindful about what that looks like. But again, what I'm doing is raising another level of awareness when it comes to likability and how powerful likability is when it comes to um, how you can navigate in the workplace. You ever think about those people who you're like, oh God, their personality is awful. They don't do a lot of work, but they have the right people liking who they are. Whether it's because they feel like they have some sort of the same type of things in common, or if it's just one of those politics things. But I'm glad you raised that question, Madison, because that's a good one. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to keep it moving here. So the next one is on the 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. A sponsorship is greater than mentorship. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some mentorship because that's that, that's that right down to it. Just get to having those real conversations. However, mentorship and sponsorship are different because mentorship is where you have those conversations to kind of help you navigate things and work through and elevate, where sponsorship is helping you to level up. The sponsorship, we all have heard it 5,000 times. Sponsorship is all about the person who is going to be, really championing for you when you're not in the room, so to speak. And so you want someone who can do that for you, who can have their eyes and ears down to the ground to speak for you when you're not there, talk you up, promote you, help to get you promoted, being able to be a buffer and be in those rooms and spaces that you don't have access to, right? So sponsorship is greater because that's a higher level of access that sponsorship person should have that can help to elevate you. So that's hugely important to think about, is that sponsorship is greater. Now, please do not discount mentorship. Mentorship is amazing because you need that from a daily perspective of how you are navigating your overall career and in the workplace. But sponsorship is something that can help you to elevate to that next level because of how that person can back you. It's almost like you got a sponsor for any kind of brand or something and they back you, whatever. So that's what you want to think about sponsorship to be, and the power of that, and cultivating relationships with people who have that type of internal power that can support that. Or a sponsor could also be someone who doesn't work in your company, but they work for another organization that can also speak to you because you're not in the room, that could also look at you and consider you for an opportunity, or just even this connection, a project, whatever that looks like. So think about sponsorship, not just internally, but also externally too, especially for those of you who are on that trajectory of wanting to move up in your career. All right. The next one is the rules change as you move up. Okay, this is that third hidden workplace rule. I have a philosophy, and I always say the higher up you, I have this philosophy. It's the new levels, new devils, and I don't want to call them devils, but I'm just saying it gets complicated when you get the higher up you go. So it's more or less what that means is that the higher up you go, the more complex things become. The more your core values are compromised, you may be asked to do things that may not be in alignment with your core values. It does become a lot more complicated when the rules change as you go up. It may not seem that way, but again, when you think about it from perspective, it's this thing I had, this philosophy I also call power, privilege, and positioning. And when your power and your positioning increases, your privilege increases, and it also gets more complicated because the rules change and how you navigate. And the more power you have, the more complex it becomes. That's where you have more egos involved. People who are really trying to hold on to the titles that they have. Well, anybody does it in any role, to be honest with you, but it gets a little bit more complex as the rules change and as you level up in your career. And I always say, for those of you who desire to be a leader, when you think about leadership, always think about making sure that you are doing the work before you become that level leader. Because if you don't do the work to become that level, to do the work before you become that level leader, you may get there, but you may not stay there. So it's always important to think about doing the work before you get to that level. Simply because it gets complicated. So I've got a couple of notes here I wanted to share for this one, because I know this one would probably be a little bit more, people would have more questions. So when we think about using it to our advantage, we're talking about rules that change and how you move up. You want to master your executive presence. You want to make sure you learn how to communicate with confidence, that you have strong business acumen, you have good strategic thinking, and you have a high level of influence when you get to a next level. You want to make sure you are clear about understanding office politics when the rules change as you move up. And you also want to make sure you understand the hierarchy, who holds the power, how decisions are made, how to position yourself effectively in those places when you have those egos, and because you can get to that next level and still be fighting for your positioning, even though you're supposed to already have it. So thinking about that and developing your leadership skills early. Like I said, do the work before you get to the role, because if you don't do that, you may struggle once you get into the role because you don't understand how to navigate from that level of leadership. So I think it's important to understand that. All right. And the next one is visibility matters more than you think. Okay. So I've got some notes on this one too. So when you think about visibility, it's great to do work, but if no one sees what you're doing, it's not going to get you far. Now, high performers sometimes also get overlooked. And the reason why high performers get overlooked is because they're not really speaking up for themselves. They're not advocating for themselves. They're not really, and you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be able to help people to notice what you're getting done. So you own your wins. That's one. Okay. You seek opportunities to present yourself in front of decision makers. That means getting on committees. If you got a committee, volunteer committee, employee engagement committee, whatever that looks like, get involved so you can have that visibility, and then develop your own personal brand. I can't, stress enough about positioning yourself to be the go-to expert in what you do, that subject matter expert. Do it not just in your job, but in your industry, and leverage that visibility in different ways. LinkedIn is a great way to leverage your visibility. Social media, if done right, can be a great way to leverage your visibility with your knowledge and expertise. So I think that's important for you to consider as well. Now, the next one is number 5 is we got a question here. Oh, hi Vanessa, hi Sherelle. Welcome to our Career Tip Tuesday. All right, so our next one, or the last one, is workplace is a game. So you know the rules and play to win. So when you think about workplace as a game and know the rules to play to win, we know that every company has its own internal culture. I always say there's a company culture, and then each department has its own subculture. Okay. And so there's unwritten rules about how success plays out in those different departments, how it's measured. You want to navigate that particular thing effectively, which means you have to pay attention to the people that you work with, pay attention to your surroundings and how people move in your departments. So again, observing what success looks like, who's succeeding, and why are they succeeding? What behaviors, relationships, and work styles are being rewarded. Okay. Number 1, because if the toxic workplace behaviors is what's being rewarded, then that's a red flag. So again, observe who succeeds and why. You want to also adapt to staying very authentic with who you are. You don't have to change who you are to be in that place, right? You ain't got to do all that. Okay. You ain't got to do all that. Just understand how the game is played, and then be strategic in how you move around. That's really all you have to do for that. And then how you stay ahead of the change in terms of, the game is played in your workplace. It's just pay attention to industry trends, company shifts and drifts. I've talked about this before on a workplace, on a Career Tip Tuesday. And then think about opportunities that can position you effectively. You always have to pay attention to how things are changing and shifting in your organization, because if you're not looking and there are some problems going on, you can get lost in the sauce. Your job, your particular role you look up and your calendar was full one day and now it's not. So you have to think about those types of things and be considerate about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and recap the 5 hidden workplace rules. Oh, hey Vanessa. I know there's a lot of Vanessas on here today. I love it. All right. So I'm going to recap the 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. All right. Go back up to number 1. I'm going to put my notes back up so I can recap with you as well. Being liked is just as important as being a high performer. Remember, hard work and competence is important, but it's not the only factor for your career growth. You want to make sure that decision makers, they promote people who are likable, that they trust, that they feel comfortable with. Now, we know that feel comfortable with is a slippery slope because we're Black women. It's not our job to help y'all feel comfortable. Okay. Yes, for the viewers who are not Black women, it's not our job to help you feel comfortable. What your job and responsibility is to understand who we are, understand our plight in the workplace, and be empathetic to that, right? And not all of us are having hard times in the workplace, but again, understanding the complexity of how we have to navigate, which is different than how others may have to navigate in that workplace. But likability is still important. Workplace relationships are extremely important when it comes to, I would say, determining getting your visibility and opportunities. The likability is important. But again, it all goes back to how healthy your workplace culture is and the people that are in it. Because if they only reward toxic behaviors and you're someone who doesn't play those games, you may not have a chance. Now, don't quote me on that. Okay. All right. The next one is sponsorship is greater than a mentorship. And this means that a mentor can give you advice, which we know they can. I've already talked about the power of mentorship. I love mentorship. It is equally just as great, but there definitely are two different playing fields and how the two actually work. Okay. So sponsors have the influence. They use it to help you gain access to opportunities and people that you wouldn't have access to. Okay. And they can also talk about you when you're not, speak highly of you when you're not in the room. Where, mentors give you the advice, they help you to, they do the things that really kind of help you through the day to day and being able to, level up from that perspective. So what you want to do, for those of you who are thinking, how do I find a sponsor? Identify a sponsor, identify a leader that you value or that you admire, and start to cultivate a relationship with them. If you gain access to them, they have the power to elevate you. Okay. But understand how it works. Deliver results consistently with the work that you do. You want the influential people to see what you do and how you do it. And then you want to just try to get access to high visibility products, or even ask, can you be included in a high visibility project? A lot of times we don't get because we don't ask. Okay. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask to be a part of some of those high visibility projects for those of you who are in those positions where that is feasible. Okay. All right. The next one is rules change as you move up, which is I just talked about. We talked about the skills that help you, that got you hired, and maybe what earned you your first promotion are not the same skills when you level up. I talked about new levels, new devils, and what that means in terms of how the expectations change, how how your core values could be compromised, the rules of engagement change, your power positioning and privilege changes. And so again, this is where you want to master executing executive presence, understanding, really having a clear understanding of what office politics is and how to really cultivate your next level leadership skills with that. And then the number 4 is visibility matters more than you think. This is where we talked about owning your wins, seeking opportunities to present, and then developing a personal brand. If you all have questions, please hop in. I know I'm moving kind of fast through these, but just want to be able to stay on time. And then developing a personal brand. I know sometimes that brings a lot of anxiety for people because, some people feel like, I don't want to have to be on LinkedIn posting and all the things. Well, you don't necessarily have to be showing your face on video, but what you can do is lend to, commenting on someone's blog, or maybe just doing your own post and giving out some quick tips or advice, or just engaging with your LinkedIn followers or who's in your LinkedIn connections and community, right? It's all about, and you can serve things that way as well. So I think that's always a great way to do that. And then the last one, again, is the workplace is a game. Know the rules, play to win. And again, I know some of you are probably like, I don't want to have to do all that, and it's not necessarily that you have to be all in being this, power politics winning person when it comes to work, but you do need to understand how it works. And I guess my biggest tip for the day when it comes to workplace is the game and knowing the rules is observing who succeeds, why they're succeeding, what work styles are being rewarded. Okay. Which means what behaviors, what relationships, and what work styles are being rewarded. That right there by itself can tell you a lot about what is valued. Okay. If you see hardworking, honest people who are really supported and getting promoted, or just being promoted and elevated in their success in their current roles, then, and more than likely could be a healthy workplace. But if you see toxic behaviors, people who are undermining others and backstabbing and doing some things that are not healthy workplace behaviors, and they are continuously being elevated or promoted, so again, I can't stress enough about just observing who succeeds and why, and all of those things within your workplace can tell you a lot without looking. And then just adapting is good, but staying authentic to who you are, especially if there's organizational changes that come about, being very strategic about that. And then staying ahead of the game is important too. Not staying ahead of the game, staying ahead of change in your organization, which means if you're in your industry, stay on top of trends, paying attention to any company shifts and drifts, because again, like I said, you can get lost in the sauce. And then just keep your eye out for any emerging opportunities where you can continue to elevate your skill sets. Whew, I said a lot today. Real fast, didn't I? Real fast. And I think a lot of these things are important to consider when we're talking about 5 hidden workplace rules that no one tells you about. Because a lot of times what we do is we have to come in and figure these things out on our own. But if we decode the rules quickly, we can use those to our advantage. And that way it allows us to position ourselves strategically. You can also take control of how you want to see yourself go in the organization if you understand those hidden workplace rules, and learn what they are really quickly. The last thing I want to say too is that when you think about success is different, means different things for everyone, right? For some people, success is how much money they make. For success for some people is like, I'm using all of my skill sets and my gifts and talents, I'm happy. I've been on my job for 10 years, I feel successful. So it all depends on what you define as success. But the one thing I can say is the commonality of everything when it comes to defining success is adaptability and being able to navigate and adjust when you hit some of those roadblocks or challenges within your career that if you're not prepared, can stall you out. And so think about, when you think about success, think about your ability to adapt and to navigate and have the skill sets to be able to work through those challenges. That is also part of success as well. So you want to play the game wisely, but play it on your terms. And then making sure that you are clear about who you are, where you're going, and what your core values are. Because if you don't have a sense of self, this can be hard. All right. So which one of the workplace rules have you all encountered, or do you think that is something you need to focus on? You can drop it in the chat box and let me know. I know we still have a few minutes left, but would love to know which one of the 5 hidden workplace rules really resonated more with you that you might want to learn more about. So again, when you think about how hidden workplace rules impact you, you want to position yourself strategically. You want to build the right relationships. That's how you take control of your career. It's and if you're in a toxic place where that may not be working for you, you got to just think about those things. Natasha said, very true, dealing with that right now. This was great. Sure, Natasha, I'm so glad this was helpful for you. I always love talking about hidden workplace rules and helping women to understand how things work in the workplace. Those hidden workplace rules, those things that you never hear them talk about, but you see it. You're just not paying attention to it. You're not paying attention to it. All right. I know we've got 1 minute left. I want to be mindful of everyone's time who was with us at lunch break, or maybe you snuck this in and watched this before lunch happened. If you're on like Central Time or Mountain Time or Pacific Time, it's still early there for you all. But just wanted to go ahead and invite you all to download our app, be a part of our community. You can access our resources. The replay of this Career Tip Tuesday will also be there. You can download our app on the Google Play Store or Apple Store. We'd love for you to be a part of our community. And those of you who are watching who are in Cincinnati, we have our Mentor Collective is coming up. I know a lot of people have been asking us about this. We did change the name to the Mentor Summit. So yes, this is our 10-year anniversary. This is where we bring influential Black women together and they give career advice and insight to emerging professionals. And so this is a 10-year anniversary of this event. You can find the link on our LinkedIn page. You can go to BCWN, BCWNetwork.com to register if you would like to attend. Madison says, I would like to learn more about understanding new dynamics as you move up in the workplace, having a hard time navigating higher position with a sense of leader. Yes. Okay, Madison, I recommend you download our app because we do monthly webinars and we go through and we talk about office politics and the whole dynamics of these types of things on our monthly master classes that we have. So I don't do them here because this is our Career Tip Tuesday, but if you want to access to be able to be part of a community and get in our resources and even have some time to talk with me, that's my jam. Okay, it's talking about understanding those dynamics as you move up in the workplace. That is my jam. So yeah, get in touch with me. You can absolutely contact me at smsbcwnetwork.com. And you can find me. I'm all over the place, or send me a message on LinkedIn and we can connect. Vanessa says, building the right relationships and hidden workplace rules. Yes, right. We don't talk enough about that because we're going on with our days and our work and we're putting our head down. We're not paying attention to what's going on in the organizations. And then we look up and we have issues. And then we're like, what the, so again, have to be paying attention to what's going on. And that went back to rule number 3. You're welcome, Natasha. You're welcome, Madison, for that. Natasha says, will it be live stream? No, we don't. Our master classes, we don't live stream. So you would need to be part of our BCWN community to access that. You can download it from Apple or the Google Play. The only thing we do live stream here on LinkedIn is our Career Tip Tuesdays. Every now and then I might do a webinar, but for the most part, if you want the meat potatoes of what we teach in terms of Black women, then you would need to download our app. To download our app is free. You ain't got to pay for the app. So just want to let you all know, look, I know what economy we sitting in right now. So again, please download that. Oh, she said head down thing. Yes, the head down thing will get you. Well, that is probably one of the number one killers to your career trajectory is the head down work, right? So, and we probably would do a whole conversation on that. So you just gave me an idea, Vanessa. All right, I know it's 1:02, you all, and I'm going to go ahead and go because I've got a career coaching session I got to hop on and do. So you're so welcome, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Career Tip Tuesday. And Vanessa, we might talk about the head down thing since you kind of gave me an idea for that. Nicole said, hi, just joined. Are there general tips? Absolutely, there's general tips too. Absolutely. And the summit is in Cincinnati, Ohio, Natasha. It's going to be on Saturday, April 12th from 10 to 2:30. Here in Cincinnati. So if you're in the tri-state area, which is Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky, please welcome. Or now we do have people who fly into our Mentor Summit. So if you're someone who wants to, it is worth the 4.5 hour event. We've been doing it this is our 10-year celebration. So we're so excited. If you want to see a video from last year's event, you can go to our LinkedIn page and it's pinned at the very top if you want to check it out, or you can go to our YouTube page to check it out. You're welcome, Vanessa. Okay, you guys, I got my client waiting for my coaching session. I got to go, but I love you all. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.